Let's see here. We're going to start excited for what the Lord is going to share. The title or the subject matter is "You Think You Know Me." So that's what we'll be talking from that mindset. And so let's get into it. John chapter 6, verse 38. All right. Now we're going to be looking at a good percentage of John chapter 6, but we're going to really focus in on those verses. All right. And so let's see here. We're going to focus on 38, and then we'll work our way from there. All right. For I came down from heaven, not to mine own will, but the will of him that sent me. And this is the Father's will, which hath sent me, that of all which he has given me. I want to go over that. And this is the key part here that the Lord was speaking to me concerning us. Verse 39. And this is the Father's will, which hath sent me, that of all which he has given me, I should lose nothing. That is key, but should raise it up again at the last day. And so, Heavenly Father, I thank you that you are going to speak and have my do. We're looking forward to what you have to say. Amen. So moving forward, once again, my name is Relationship Between Us and God. To be quite frank with you, it's going to be very, 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 the Lord is saying. The Lord is saying and has said in prayer and in study, the Lord shared with me this wordage, this phrase, this language. You think you know me. And so we're going to be pretty much covering a good percentage of John. Now, a lot of us know John 6. We understand a bit of what took place there, but I want to present to you a different perspective of revelation as it pertains to what he was saying here and what he's saying now in this moment. All right. So what I would love to do is we're going to start and then I'll begin to pray and prophesy and proclaim some things to you. We're going to start right at verse 14. We're going to start right at verse 14. Now, I want to kind of bring some things to our attention. Before we get to 14, what you'll find is that Jesus was surrounded by a multitude. Most of us know this, but this is the story. This is the section where the Bible discusses a multitude of people. All right. And these multitude of people were pretty much in awe of Jesus. And so they decided that they wanted to sit at his feet and to move forward in receiving his word. Now, here's the key thing here. What you'll find is that Jesus had a conversation with one of his disciples, and the discussion was, how are we going to feed them? Now, Jesus, mind you, had already known what he was going to do, but he wanted to an exchange of ideas. He desired that there would be some type of conversation. And in this, the disciple expressed that they didn't have enough, which is very a familiar theme as it pertains to his past. And we can go to it. Let's see here. So after Jesus told him to sit down, Jesus took the loaves. Jesus said, make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in the place. And so the men sat down. In the numbers, about 5,000. Now, here's what's significant. We're going to go back Jesus lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come to him, and said unto Philip, where shall we buy bread? Now mind you, he already knew that there was a need. He saw the people and there was a need. Here's Philip's answer, which is significant in the spirit we have. Philip answered him, 200 penny worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. So what we have is not sufficient for the assignment that's in front of us. What you will find is that God will present to you a need, something that needs to be done, an assignment, and often asks you, how are we going to get this done? In the posture of believing what you have isn't sufficient, isn't good enough anymore. I want to bring you to everything now. Let's recap here. We have a need. There are these people surrounding Jesus. And now Jesus is asking of his people, his servants, how are we going to feed them? The response is, we don't have what we need. It's not sufficient. It wasn't any way that we could creatively make it. It wasn't, he didn't technically even answer. He told him the price that they had, the money that they had wasn't good enough for what they needed to accomplish. Now, mind you, Jesus already know. So now here we have a son involved in a conversation with Jesus and giving him information, speaking from a place of not having it to you. And you cannot look at what you have as insufficient. You cannot look at what you have as insufficient. What should have taken place was that after presenting, this is what we don't have, it should have been, Father, what would you do? And this is part one of the message that God would like to deliver today, is that we are fixated on the insufficient aspects of our lives, that we dare not recognize the sufficiency that we have. Conversation would have went differently. We even find that after they go find a little boy with loaves of bread. So they don't go to the store. The loaves of bread appear in the hands of a little boy. And then Jesus multiplies those loaves and fish. We know the story. Most of us know the story. Here's the point here. God knows. He knows he will never put us in a position where he doesn't have for us to do what we need to do. And so now that we know that, it's our mindset that has to change. And that's what I want to kind of build to. I want us to look at some of the habits here, some of the consistencies in our Father. He asks a question already knowing. He then provides. It actually overflows and the need is met, right? This is I want to kind of go through 6 really quickly here and show you some consistencies with him. That's his desire tonight, is to really show you who he is. And so we're moving on. And as we move on in the story, get to 14. And this is one of the key parts here. God does the miracle. He multiplies. And then he says this. And then those men, when they had seen the miracle that Jesus did, said, this is of a truth that a prophet that should come unto the world. Now they were speaking of a prophecy that spoke of the coming of Jesus. They're not recognizing him as a Messiah, which is very, very interesting. And a point that God will like to make today is the boxing in or keeping him in this one dimension of what we can fathom. At that moment, because he knew there was a need, he spoke to this people knowing what they needed to hear. He provided. He then therefore was a prophet throughout our whole entire lives. If he healed us in '09, then forever in our whole entire lives, he's just that, a healer. We trust him in that. And he's trying to take us out of that today. He's trying to share with us that we just don't know him. We don't know the fullness of him. And so we continue on, moving from 14, where the Lord spoke to me. We associate his works. We do a lot of association, right? And we need to start associating his works to his character and not to his power, not just to his power. I'm going to say it again. We associate a lot of things that pertains to God. We need to associate his works to his character and not just to his power. Because we are in need or feel weak, we pull on the power of God. And that is a relationship. That's how we associate ourselves as it pertains to covenant and loving on him. It's connected to his power. God, you're great and mighty. You're strong and powerful. That is a power, right? But he wants his works to be associated with his character. How do we know this? Let's go to a perfect example. His name, which at that time, names meant everything. Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide. The Lord will provide. So it's not just there was something being provided. He will provide. Why? Because that's his character. It's in his name. That means something. If someone calls you something, most of the time you are, if not. So what takes place here is they knew him for his power. So they associated his character. They added things together. He's the prophet. And they missed out on the fullness of who they were around. And this has been going on for centuries, and mega ministries and personal relationships and businesses that God has allowed us to raise up. Is we have minimized who he is because we associate what has taken place, a miracle, a blessing, to the fact that he can do it. And not the fact that he is the thing that has done it. If he's healed me, it's not because he has just the power to heal. It's because his actual identity, his characteristic, his aura, his very being is a healer. And so I can trust in him and not just look for a hand. I can go deeper into him because I want the more of him, because what he does is associated with who he is. And so this is what his desire has been, for us to connect in the characteristics that is our Lord and Savior. And so I want to continue on with other examples of his characteristics. Let's go to 27, verse 27 to 28. Because my desire was to go over the stories with you and go down and just go down the line. But I really feel like God is making things clear. 27 to 28. Let's continue on here. And I want to not prove, but allow the word to prove my point. Here we go. 27. We're speaking of the character being of God, Jesus the Christ, being revealed unto us. And so here we go. He performs the miracle. The people are in awe. He runs away because he feels like they're going to be captured. Keep on going down. We're at 27. Here we go. Now Jesus is addressing these people that have been looking for him, as he is on the sea now. He's on the other side, and they're looking out, and they're like, hey, where have you been? 27. Labor not for the meat which perish. Oh, let's go to 26. Excuse me. Jesus answered him and said, verily, verily, I say unto you, seek me, not because ye saw miracles, but because ye did eat of the loaves and were filled. Let me say that again. Jesus, after they called out and said, Rabbi, where are you? Where are you going? We were looking for you. Jesus answered unto them, saying, Verily, verily, I say unto you, ye God, the Father sealed. Let's go over this again. Labor not for the meat which perish, but for that meat which endureth unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you, for him hath God the Father sealed. And so what this is speaking to is us changing, looking at the miracle and shifting to the miracle giver. Now, we've heard this before, but this is why this particular verse is significant. It's because it separates the difference between his miracle or his hand and who he is. The meat perish. That's one thing. But he is eternal. And he says in the verse, everlasting. That is very significant. Some of us have been living off of check by check, miracle by miracle, prophecy by prophecy. How come? Because we've been fixated on the meat of a thing. We've been fixated on the meat of the thing. We can't overcome anything. We're always in a cycle because we're fixated on the meat of the thing. We were with God. Listen, I want a job. And so God gives me the job. And now I'm excited because I have a job. And now I'm in the job and I'm doing great and I have the money and I feel like God is good and we're good to go. I can move forward. I can build now. I have my own little plans. And then what happens is when that very normal to sometimes receive something from someone and feel like, okay, I don't know if they would do this again. And so what God is trying to do is shift our minds from placing him like our tangible or fleshly fathers, treating him like the best friend that has left us, treating him like the bad coworker or whatever the case may be, taking the brokenness that we have and putting it on him. There's an association between our flesh people over to God. It just happens. If man has hurt you, chances are you're going to be an introvert. You're going to step back. And so that then transfers over to your relationship with God. And so what he's sharing here is that I'm better. And that's one thing that God has been crying out to his people for centuries, for forever now at this point, that he is better. He is better. He would rather you have what's eternal than something that can perish. I would rather have living word than a promise from man that normally drops. There is a difference. Our Father does not give anything, say anything, and it does not manifest, and it does not remain. That it's not just the fact that he has the power to do so. It's in him to remain. How do we know this? The Bible speaks that he is the ancient of old days. I'm sorry, ancient of days. Excuse me, not old. Ancient of days. He's not just the ancient of old days and then initiation of the past, but he's the ancient of days, period. He's forever. He has always been. We did not have to conjure him up. He just is. His power is himself. How so? He sent himself. He sent himself. Of his grace, his mercy, and his power. But what he wanted to offer first was himself. And we've been missing out on it. We've been missing out on him. We are focused on, let's go here, what's going on and how long we have to stay in the house. We've been missing out on him. We've been focused on grocery stores and how much toilet paper can I fit in this little closet. We've been missing out on him. We've been praying and fasting for God to provide in different areas, and you should do that. And believing that because we're praying to him and he has the power, it's going to manifest. But what I suggest unto you, if you tap into who he is, his character, that he is a provider, not just one that has the power to provide, you will find that things will move swiftly for you. You will find that peace is actually still now because you know that's him. It's him. It's him. Some of our jobs are 9 to 5. You know that you wake up, you get there at 9, you get up at 5:30. That's something that you know. That's something that you can trust in because it's is sanctuary. God is whatever you need. That is his character. It's not just his power. It's not just his power. And we've been fixated on the power of God, and he's been trying to get us to tap into his character, understanding who he is. He's been really crying out for that relationship, not just for you to be able to come to him and say, I love you, I appreciate you, please forgive me of my sins. He desires more than that. Not for you to just come to him and share your heavy burdens. He, after giving him the burden, wouldn't you want to take something away? I wouldn't want to leave empty anywhere, in any situation. I want to feel full. But the only reason why we have not accessed that sustainable deliverance, the fullness, is because we have not tapped into the character. We have not recognized this is who he is. This is literally who he is. He is exactly his works. He's exactly his name. You can do your own research and find, and I could go over it, the list of different names. They call him a banner, strong tower. That's him. That's his character. It's speaking to the character. Speaking to the character of God. I want to leave you with this. God's desire, as it speaks in verse 38 to 48, been losing us to everything. And it's because of this very reason. We don't know who he is. It's easier to be swayed to something else or someone else when you don't know who you're attached to, because you can't find security in him because you just don't know him. So what you'll do is you'll go to people that you know, old relationships that you know, food that you know. I know, listen, I have this switch now that I recently made for my nephew. And now when he comes over, he knows it's a security that if we have what I need, the bacon, the turkey, and the honey rolls, these Hawaiian rolls, excuse me, then he just knows within him it's gonna be all right. it's gonna be an awesome lunch that's coming, and he trusts in me that I'm gonna make it just right for him. I'll make sure I square out that he sees me like, okay, he provides sandwiches. It's in his character, because not only did I make the sandwich for him, but I made the sandwich for his sister. I made the sandwich for my wife. I made the sandwich for his other sister. So he saw the power. He saw the ability. But because he was connected to me, he understood he's loving. So he gave. He cares for me. So he gave. So if I'm hungry, I'm not even going to go to my aunt anymore. I'm going to go to Devin, because it's in his character to make sandwiches. It's in his character to provide, because I've seen him work. So I know where the source is. Could be sitting right next to his aunt. He will leave where he is and find me, so I can make that sandwich for him, so I can provide for him, because he trusts in my character that I'm gonna do it. If I don't do it right then and there, he knows it's gonna happen eventually. And that is the relationship that he desires from us. That when we don't have, we seek after him, because it's in his character to provide in the first place. It's in his character to give us information that we desire and need to move forward. It's in him. It's who he is. It's not just the mantle. It's not perfect example. The Bible speaks that the word was actually tattooed on his thigh. It wasn't physical yet was him. And from that start was healing, which is the blessings, which is all those different things that we're requiring and desiring from him. If we don't know him, if we don't trust in the character of him, he's see, it's one thing for him to say he's desiring students. A student really don't have to have the biggest relationship with his teacher. He's desiring sons. A son should know his father. A son should there should be a level of intimacy where one word should translate across all borders. I mean, if I walk into a situation that's dry and he speaks river unto me, because I know his character, I can associate that word to who he is. And I can spiritually do the math and discern what he's saying. And this is what he's been desiring, is that his people don't chase after the prophets, but they associate themselves with the prophet. Therefore, connecting to him, you are walking prophecy versus getting in line and sowing a seed towards a man having a word for you. Recognize this: man only has power to prophesy to you. They aren't prophecy. We are not prophecy. Jesus is. And I'm just one that finds it better to cut the middleman out. It's the days are over to associate your Christianity with a man in the way. Because that's what they are. They're in the way. They're in the way. This moment right now that we're calling Corona or whatever the case may be, that this world is calling that, to make it clear, having a man right now associated to your deliverance, whatever you're desiring, is being in the way. You ought to still go online and worship. You ought to still sow into your house. But to be fixated right now, where we are right now in this time, having a man in the way, associating your Christianity, your relationship with God, being connected to a man of God or a woman of God, is in the way of what God is trying to do. It is absolutely in the way with because he wants you to know him. You can't tell me that if we meet, we're not going to have a better relationship through talking directly versus you meet my wife and the only time you speak to me is via her. That there's going to be a disconnect. And he did not die that you would have a father in place. That was law. He died that you can have direct access to him. That's grace. And that's the difference. You have him. You have him. Is the best time / way we can hear from God. Hence why he had them sit down, receive anything from him. This moment that we're calling COVID-19, is a moment of sitting down. The issue is we're not seeing that we're in green pastures. He will never put you in a desert place. He will never sit you down where there's no resources. Let's be honest with ourselves. Some of us are dramatic. All right. Hopefully you raised your hand in honesty. He will never do that to you. He loves you too much. They were in green pastures. We are in green pastures. This is still a moment of green pastures. You can look around. You can look in your phone. You can make phone calls. You can see even your house. Some of us are sitting in beautiful rooms and houses and spaces. Some of us got the air on. Some of us still got cable. Some of us are eating great, gaining weight as we speak. You're in green pastures. The entire nation down. But we're in green pastures. Before this, and this is what he shared with me, we were all over the place. We were scattered in our minds for some. scattered in our creativity for some, scattered in our decisions for some. Most importantly, our worship and dedication. And this is what he is calling us back to. So now, Devin, how can I dedicate myself to something when I am in a position of losing? I want to proclaim something unto you. This is Matthew 11:28. Okay, and this is my word unto you from heaven. Come to him, all who are weary and burdened, and he will give you rest. What you're feeling now in this loss is the absence of rest. And it's because you don't understand that his character gives that. How do we know? The Bible speaks that he will never leave us nor forsake us. In a carnal perception of that, one would have to be working overtime to keep you. So if I'm constantly up, then surely you can rest. If I'm always working for your behalf, surely you can take a break. Even if it's just your little 15, I got this, is what he's expressing here to you. And so I proclaim unto you this day that you would find rest in him. Rest assured that whatever burdens and frustrations and this worrisome mindset coming from the news, which is a demonic stronghold over your mind that makes you think because they're saying one thing that he's not prepared and already know. He didn't have to wake up today and say, okay, let me figure this out. It's already done. The people in the news, the people that run this nation are figuring out what's going on. He already knows. And we are covered by the one who knows, not the people that are figuring this out. We can rest assured in someone that not only has a plan, but a perfect will for us. Perfect will. They think it's a great idea for us to be shut in. He has a perfect will for us to come into him. Now, we just don't have any excuse. And so I proclaim to you unto you again, you will rest in him. It is his character to take care of his people. It is his character to allow things to overflow. We know the story, most of us. I see the people that are on here. He took care of those people. He walked onto that ocean and he spoke to the wind, and it is in his character to take care of what is his. Then surely what is going on around us will have to be still. Therefore, we can rest in him, knowing that we are taken care of. Secondly, Proverbs 18:10. The name of the Lord is a fortified tower. It's not just a tower. It's a fortified tower. There's a difference. The righteous run to it and are safe. And so once again, not only do we have rest in him, but we can quickly move and find safety. There is no safety in your Instagram. Let's discuss this. There is no safety in your YouTube. There is no safety in whatever book you are currently reading that has that's not speaking to you, to your soul, speaking to your spirit, rather. There is no safety in that. The safety that's required in this moment and in this time is him, because it's his character to take back what's his and to make sure it's safe. It's his character to gather. How do we know? Because when we move on to 38 to 48, the verses speak that he doesn't want to lose. So if I don't want to lose my keys, I'm going to put it where it needs to be every time. If I don't want to lose my phone, I'm going to have it on me. If I don't want it, whatever you normally desire not to lose, you're going to keep close. And he doesn't want to lose any of us. So he has enough power, we do know, to keep us. But we must recognize it's his character. He is the strong tower. He doesn't have the power to, it's not just the fact that he has the power to produce a tower for us. but he is that tower. And that's what we have been missing out on. He shared unto me that I want sons. This is a moment in time for sons. This shut-in is for sons. For sons, for there be a transition from the student to the son, for there be a trend to it. Why? Because it is so. It's not something that he has to make up. He has to prepare for. He wants sons. And so being sons, transitioning to sons, this is the awakening, if you will, that he's given. All right? He's going to speak to some things here. This is a time that's going to weed out sin. Okay? Operate into the things that are pleasing to your flesh. Okay? There's two things that he shared with me: smoking and masturbation. Okay? Any type of drinking, alcoholism, just getting drunk. Let's be quite honest, we see it all over our timelines. Okay? People are speaking of corona babies. Sounds funny. The spirit of lust is trying to take control of this situation that's supposed to be holy. This is a moment of sanctification. And so what he's going to do is God is trying to weed out. Therefore, he's going to show you and then move it out of the way. The enemy is going to try to produce and have it stand and be a stronghold and be in the way of what God is doing. It's the strong man that can separate us from God if we allow it to be in God's place. And so now that we've recognized some sins that the enemy is bringing out, one must look into ourselves and say, what is in me that I can operate in? What do I have access to that disrespects God? And how can I get that out of my way? How can I remove anything that the enemy can use to push me to a place where I miss out on what God is doing? And more importantly, what God is saying. For the Lord is speaking. Listen, people say it all the time, Lord is speaking like number 4. He's always speaking. But I believe, after seeing some recent testimony, that the Lord is speaking to those who never even thought they would hear his voice. You've went to prophets all your life. You've called and got on lines all your life. He's speaking to you. We need to see what the enemy is doing. He's gonna make you aware. And so this is gonna be a lot of putting a mirror in front of you. I need you to look at you so you can see what's not like me. How do we do that? Understanding the characteristics of God. So if you find yourself perfect, then you don't know our God. You don't really know him if you find that you are doing everything right. Let's move on to what else he has shared with me. This is a time where God is making himself known to his people. Some first time, others in a different way. The enemy will seek to steal God's time and will. Okay? He desires you to know him, not just his power, but his word and his will concerning you. We know his word, but the Lord shared with me, Spirit of God spoke to me that this is a time of great study. Find me, seek me out. Okay? When I want to come back, I want to share with you again. The Spirit of the Lord was saying to me, a time of great study. Communication to me was what Revelation 3:20 speaks of. Revelation 3:20. Here I am. I stand at the door and I knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person, and they will be with me. Hear this. I will come in and eat with that person in exchange, and they, will be with me. Not they will be blessed. Not I will bestow upon them great power, but they will be with me, which all the rest you have not been honing on your assignment. Today is a knock at the door. He's requesting great study and that you find him and seek him out. The Lord also shared with me a few more things that I would love to go over with you guys. And if you're taking notes, this will be a blessing to write down. We need to recognize what time we are in. This is really critical. A lot of us are good at labeling, tagging, adding a caption to something, but not really defining. And so to add language definition to the time that we in, because this is just a moment in time. This is not going to be a season for us. I don't believe that. But it's a moment of time of consecration and communion, right? We know this because we have to separate ourselves. Fasting and prayer. A time of fasting and prayer. We understand the Bible speaks that some things cannot change as we go back to the sin that God is going to reveal to us, that mirror moment. We'll be able to transition and move well if we fast and prayed out. There has to be another level of dedication to lift that, as well as other different sins or spirits. Intercession. Now, I did not say fasting, prayer, intercession. He did not say that. He did not put it together. He intentionally had me separated. Why? Because there's a difference. Some of us are so on our post that we have not went to God for ourselves. We can hear God for the nation all day, but don't have our lives together to hear him for ourselves. And so, prophet, this is your moment to sit down in your green pasture and prophecy. It is your time to fast and pray that God can offer another dimension in him. So you're not just sitting here telling people it's going to be okay. He did not say that he was going to leave us dumb. So if you want another level, one that is graced with the gift of myself, the world, because technically that's what we're supposed to be doing anyway, and intercede. Hear God now for this moment, for this timing of what needs to happen on this earth. It's some people are going to be called to literally stand in the gap for some things that they never even studied on, that they never even heard of, countries they've never been. But God is going to give, even now, he's showing me insight to land. You're going to have access to land. I'm saying land, like I'm like a scene, like if you're in a helicopter in his way. We've been doing things our way. Shut it down, sit you down in green pastures. I'm going to take care of you, but this is the way it needs to be done. Our God is not random. Our God is not all over the place. He meant time. If we really want to take advantage and hone in on what God is offering unto us, which is himself, we need to tap into his will thing. Why? Because you're doing it your way. You're doing it your way. You're doing it your way. And so once again, a time of consecration, which we're technically in because we're separate. So now you can intentionally separate yourself to commune with him. Seek God on your fasting and prayer, and seek God in the assignment of intercession. Shameless plug. We're going to be interceding every Thursday. And so if you're hearing God on that matter, I want to see you on Thursday on my page. I am Devin Bryant on Instagram. We're going to be doing that Thursday at 7:00 every Thursday. And so moving forward as a summary to everything, God loves you where he desires you to know character, that things move and have their being. It's in him. Everything came out of him. It wasn't just because he put his hands together and made it happen. We breathe because of the thing that is life that is in him, that came out and was given unto Adam. So we now understand that everything that has its being came from in him. So therefore, if it's in you, wouldn't it be associated with who you are? And that's what he wants us to tap into. The understanding that this is who he is. He lords, he shepherds, as well as take care of his people. I love you. I want to share with you if this blessed you in any way, you can give via your Cash App to money sign Destinies with an S door GM. Destinies door GM. If you've been blessed by this word, you can sow a seed unto it, and I pray that God continues to bless you, that He awakens you to His character, that you would just really seek God. Let's be intentional moving forward. He requires this from His sons, and I no longer want to be just someone that loves Him and can say I know of Him, but I want to know Him. I want to know Him and feel like He's mine and I'm His. And it's not just because I said it, it's because I've actually communed with Him. And I can take pride and boast in knowing Him. You can share this video and follow on our IG page at The Worship Assembly. That's going to be on IG at The Worship Assembly. You can share and follow. Please share. If this blessed you, I'm pretty sure someone else can hear it and this can bless them. We're going to be doing this, and I'm looking forward to the more that God has to say. I love you guys. I can continue to talk about how awesome He is. But I'm going to let you guys go and be with Him. Keep us in prayer, and we'll be talking to you soon. Peace.